And you were ready to get number 2 before I got number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, when it
I just
comes
want to
to
know where I
food.
stand.
Sign a waiver if you're allergic to lemons.
It's a very attorney thing you said.
It's a very. Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's why he's here.
A little later.
We're stressing it out.
How about nuts in there, Annie?
Right.
You all do them the
There's no nuts, there's
I would
gluten,
say it was a
there's
nut-free
dairy.
kitchen, but doesn't John go in
Oh,
and out
yeah.
of the kitchen?
Yeah, and he's a nut, so there you have it.
That's funny.
I didn't read in the handbook that we weren't allowed to bring baked goods to the meeting.
Maybe that's
Circulate
something
a
that
memo.
should be added.
Added
this
to the
public
meeting, yeah.
procedure.
Yes. I feel like I take up too much space.
Usually my laptop.
We're live. Saturday night.
I just got
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could actually stay up, if we could have a moment of silence, reflection for Robert Fink, who was our ZBA attorney for so many years, and he passed away recently. Thank you.
Trustee Cheney?
Here.
Trustee Foster?
Here.
Mayor Newhart?
Here.
Trustee Fleur?
Here.
Trustee McKnight?
Here.
Stephen Gaba?
Present.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes of April 3rd, 2023?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And a motion for authorization to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $200,675.58.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a series of very nice and very important announcements. But the first one I will make, and that is this coming Saturday, May 6th, will be an event down at Railroad Green, and it's called Warwick Cares. It's a community event that is in honor of May Mental Health Awareness Month with a focus on suicide prevention. And it's a combined effort of the 3 villages and the town with Judy Batista, who's an advocate for suicide prevention. And I know that the chamber is involved. Many organizations are involved. I think there's going to be 14 tables, tents set up on the green. And it runs from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So if you have an opportunity to stop by, I think there'll be a flurry of elected officials that will show up. And I hope the board will take some time and show up that day too, just to give our support to this very important activity. The idea here of this was also to create signage that could be used throughout the community to continue this kind of awareness campaign. And for suicide prevention, there is a new hotline number. It's 668. Which is like a 911 number, and that is really important. So because someone in crisis would, 988, I'm sorry. Okay. I was looking at it upside down. 988, thank you. And so that's a really important thing, a big change, and it really makes sense. So again, if you have the opportunity to visit, that would be a good thing. And Tom, I'd like you to make the next announcement.
Sure. So this is something we've alluded to in a few past meetings, but it's officially announced by New York State Governor Hochul that the Village of Warwick is designated as a Bronze Certified Climate Smart Community. It is a program that's implemented by NYSERDA for the 1,500 or so municipalities across New York State, whether that's village, town, city, or county, to have a framework to work towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And it's a framework. There's a number of actions that a municipality can complete. The village has completed around 24 different actions. There's quite a few to go, but that puts us within the top 7% of New York State. So it's nice to get that recognition from something that has been going on for years, and we, over the past year, picked up some more steam. And they sent us this, well, two of these plaques. We'll try to find a place to put it, but really it's an opportunity, I think, for us to lead by example for some of our neighboring municipalities in Orange County. So that was good recognition from the governor, and I believe County Commissioner Steve Newhouse has also really acknowledged the progress that we've made.
Yes.
Tom, can you speak to some of the benefits? Like, I understand that there's financial benefits to, from some of these actions to the village, as well as it opens us up for grant opportunities.
Yeah, so there's another program called the Clean Energy Communities, also by New York State, and some of the actions that we've done on climate smart communities in that framework, really it's a superset of what's in Clean Energy Community. But the more actions you complete, it makes you eligible to receive certain grants so that we can get after more action. So in a way, it's rewarding those who are taking the time and effort and sometimes investment to take these next steps.
Yeah. What I see too is that it was a culmination of so many of the activities that we have done without really giving ourselves credit. For years, we would be doing these environmentally important projects, but not really, cataloging them and making, and so this gave us an opportunity to kind of see the bigger picture, which is great. And I thank you for your efforts.
Sure, and one tangible example is that we are midway through a project of replacing all of the street lights, which take up an incredible amount of energy, to LEDs. So it's something that Deputy Mayor Cheney has been spearheading for a number of years. We're finally past the halfway point. And that was an opportunity for us to talk to the state and say, here's an example of what we're doing. Here's how much less electricity we are consuming per year, and that also results in cost savings. So that's just one example. Another example is we got points for having a farmer's market, which is great. So,
And one of the first, actually, I'll just put bragging rights, one of the first
do,
farmers
yeah.
markets in the Hudson Valley. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
but I will just sign off on this by anyone who's interested. So if you look up CSC, Climate Smart Communities for New York State, they list all the municipalities. There's a map. And if you wanted to see the report on the Village of Warwick, it's all there, all the actions we've completed. It does not contemplate the ones that we are going after next, but it does give you a snapshot of progress to date.
Good. Again, thank you.
To the village for the electric charging station too.
Oh, very,
Yes,
very good.
yes.
Thanks for saying that. So,
And you know what?
we just put a second one in.
We just put a second one in the Spring Street lot, so it's a good thing.
I'm sorry, CSE, what was it?
CSC is Climate Smart Community.
Oh,
CSC.
CSC.
Right. And Barry, would you read the next announcement?
The Village of Warwick receives the New York Planning Federation Comprehensive Plan Award for an outstanding and/or innovative comprehensive plan update. And we concluded our comprehensive plan process late last year, and we were quite pleased with it. The mayor put together the application, and it must have sounded pretty good. I thought it did
Yeah.
to begin with from our end, but I'm a little biased. And the Planning Federation felt that as well. So kudos to the committee that worked on that so diligently, and to everyone who was involved, including our consultant Peter Fairweather, who was an excellent guide in the process. I think that one of the things that was somewhat unique to what we did was that the community outreach that occurred in order to get, feedback about the village and the dislikes and the likes was very valuable to the committee, but also something that, to the extent we did it, is somewhat unusual. So Carly, you kind of spearheaded a lot of that and were intimately involved, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was, the mayor and Tom and you as well. Yeah, it was great. And actually, a lot of the engagement has spun out other initiatives, and the implementation roadmap that is in the plan is a really good guide for people to look to understand kind of what we're going to be looking to accomplish over the course of the next several years.
Yeah.
I think based on the success that we saw and the value of what we received from that process, we're using that process on other projects now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
I agree. Okay, and then the next announcement is, Mary, would you do that? We didn't script this. This just happened to be.
They all just happened at
They
the
all,
same
they all
time.
happened
Yeah.
just simultaneously, so we're like, whoa.
The Village of Warwick is selected as recipient of the annual Comp Alliance G. Jeffrey Haber Leadership Award in recognition of the village's dedication to creating a safe workspace for its employees.
And so Comp Alliance is our, one of our insurance providers, and that award is given out annually. I'll receive the award actually at the New York Council of Mayors meeting, which is coming up in the middle of this month, their annual meeting. So that's a really nice accolade as well. And it just speaks of a culture of safety that we have been trying to create within our workplace. And I want to shout out to Raina Abramson, of course, as the village clerk, but also to Mike Mosier, who really have, recognized this as an important piece of what a workplace is about. So, and then Carly, if you would do number 5.
Sure. So the Village of Warwick is awarded $1.6 million for the Well Number 3 treatment system as part of a new community project funding initiative through the Office of Congressman Patrick Ryan. So this is a really important project, and I'll let Trustee Cheney actually describe the details of it. This has been sort of a project that he's been focused on for a long time, and I believe this was the 3rd time that we submitted this project
At
for
least
funding.
the 3rd time, but the previous times to the state of New York, they've got a water infrastructure improvement grant program. We've been unsuccessful to date with that program. The project revolves around bringing well number 3 back online. It's been offline since 2011, when the new microfiltration plant at the time, was brought online. And this will provide us with greater redundancy within the system. It will make us more drought resilient. Last summer we were kind of on the edge as we saw levels dropping in the reservoirs, and also our one well that we were operating. So this will provide that additional resilience, and kind of part of a philosophy we've had here in the village, and that is to find infrastructure projects and take them through the process of evaluation and design and development of plans and specifications, so that when a program like this comes along, we can demonstrate to the reviewing body that we're ready to go. We're ready to put a shovel in the ground, and basically this, and we have a couple of other projects that are similar in terms of their readiness to begin construction. So that went a long way into, I think, us being selected for the award.
Yeah, and this is another project. So it is critical for the resilience of our water supply, and also it's another project that really took everybody to kind of get through. I think we had about a week to
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so Congressman Ryan's office reached out and said that they were accepting proposals. I think there was something like 100
100,
proposal.
yes, a little bit over 100, and
15 were funded.
Yep.
And, yep, and so there was a lot of letters of support that we received from within and outside of the community, and we all had to work together to kind of get the language right and make it really compelling for the reviewers.
And I want to say that Carly and Barry were really the authors of the request, and they did such a great job. Framing it, I think, was how, it really became a more compelling request.
Story.
And story. The idea of it being redundant and the need during drought and climate change, and, so it's really kind of hitting the right notes. I met with Congressman Ryan prior to the announcement, and he was, and it's the first time I had met him in his Newburgh office, and he was very, very complimentary about our proposal. So I was like, oh, well, that's good. That's that's a good thing. But still, you don't believe it's going to happen until you get the phone call. So it's a good thing. This will take some time. It still has to go through some procedural stuff because it's federal money and you're dealing with Congress. And so probably a year from now is when we will be able to utilize it. So that's a very good thing. What it does for us, actually, is it frees up some of our infrastructure funds to be able to use in other pockets and other infrastructure projects that are really key. So it's just a real windfall on some level, but a necessary windfall for a community our size that's doing a lot of things. So
Can we say thank you?
yes,
We can shower.
yeah.
We can shower.
I also want, but I thank Barry and Carly, but I also want to thank the office staff because they're the ones that deal with, us rushing in and saying, I need this, I need that, can you get me that? And Jen was just so calm in the midst of the storm, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
I think we
you.
drafted and sent you, I don't know how many
A lot.
letters of support, like 15 letters of support.
Right.
And we said, can you please send it to these people? And we
Yeah.
need them to turn it around in 48 hours.
And she kept the spreadsheet.
And they all came in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to correspondence. We have only one letter. It's a letter of resignation from Shade Tree Commission member Robert Sherman. And then we have a discussion this evening, an important discussion, on another grant funding proposal, and it's called Safe Streets for All. And Carly, you've been, spearheading this, and if you could kind of lead the storm here, and does everyone have the notes on it?
I don't think I have one.
Oh, I put one in Mary's box.
Oh,
I have extra.
Okay. And then I think we can,
Mine in my box.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You want me to go get them? I'll go get them.
okay.
Sorry about that. Jen had them in a nice neat packet and I distributed them into folks' boxes. Here you go. Mary. Oh, you have
I got
one.
one, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'll walk through, what I'll do is I'll talk through kind of the details of the grant and what it's intended for. And then I've sort of drafted a potential scope of work that we could submit that I think would be competitive. I think there's still some thought that could be done on that. There's also some other options, some key options for the board to consider, next steps, and then support needs. And I don't think there is some additional backup here, but this is just intended for your information. One piece that I think the board and the audience would find interesting is that the Village of Warwick is actually considered to be in the 77th percentile as a disadvantaged community for transportation insecurity.
Whoa.
And transportation insecurity is defined, actually, have Mary's. As unable to move from place to place in a safe and timely manner because one lacks material, economic, or social resources necessary to do so. And so actually there's 3 different categories of transportation insecurity. Those are transportation access, transportation cost burden, and transportation safety. And we're in the 82nd percentile for transportation access. Greenwood Lake is actually in like the 93rd percentile.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Wow.
So I just thought that was sort of, so that's one of the things that you have to kind of understand is where, and that's a US DOT statistic. And so these federal grants, you really have to kind of lean into the data that they have available and use that to help tell your story. And that actually kind of speaks to a lot of what we've also seen and what we've talked about over the course of the last year or so. So just a little bit about this grant. It's called Safe Streets for All. It is a federal grant through US DOT, and the purpose is to support planning, infrastructure, behavioral, and operational initiatives to prevent death and serious injury on roads and streets. And that involves all roadway users, whether they're pedestrians, bicyclists, public transport, personal conveyance, which would be sort of like e-scooters and stuff, micro-mobility, motorists, and commercial vehicle operators. So the application for this is actually due July 10th. So we have a little bit more time than we had for RAISE, which is good. And this is actually the program that I've been attending the local infrastructure hub trainings for. And so the local infrastructure hub is actually a resource that is, now I can't remember the name of the organization and I feel bad about that, but I've talked about it before, and it's the National Association of Cities. Sorry, but they run these sort of local infrastructure hubs to help build capacity for local communities, and occasionally they'll run these trainings for specific grants. And I write grants in my other life, but I'm very unfamiliar with the transportation world, so I've been learning a lot through my role as a trustee. So I've been going through those trainings, and there are 2 different types of projects that can be funded through this grant. There are planning grants, and the cost cap on those is between $100,000 and $10 million. I don't think we need $10 million. And you can use that money to develop an action plan. You can use it to conduct additional planning to enhance an existing applicant action plan, or you can carry out demonstration activities to help inform the development of or update an action plan. So for example, if we had identified a crosswalk area that is particularly problematic, we could set up sort of a temporary thing to test whether or not it's going to work before doing a permanent adjustment. And then the implementation grants range from $2.5 million to $25 million. And they can have planning and demonstration elements. Each applicant can only submit 1 application, and you already have to have an action plan in place to get that. So that's going to be key in our conversation. Or you have elements that kind of are substantially leaning toward an action plan, and you can complete that action plan as part of your implementation grant. 40% of the funding, there's $1.1 billion available nationwide, has to be spent on planning, and also they really want to spend money in rural communities. So they don't have a set aside like RAISE did, but that is something that they emphasize. They will not spend more than 15% of any amount of the money the overall amount of money to any state. It is a cost reimbursable grant, just like other federal grants that we've talked about, which means that the village would have to spend the money to get the money back. We have to submit for reimbursement. And there is a 20% local match required, whereas with RAISE, we didn't have a required match. So what that means is that the grant would cover 80% of our costs, and then the village would have to come up with 20%. But we could do that through in-kind match, and that means through volunteer services, through staff time, things like that. So that's the skinny. Any questions on the grant itself?
Carly, yes, this is excellent. by the way. Thank you for
Yes.
bringing this up. So, it sounds like we're only looking at planning grant application, or is it?
Hold that thought.
Okay. So if we receive funds from another grant or something that could help with the action plan, then we could be eligible for implementation. Is that where you're?
Well, there is and I forgot to get this printed out, but basically they give you a tool and they say you have to be able to self-certify. And so I've been looking at this for a while. And so I've been sort of gathering up some of the stuff that you're required to have in order to say that you have this plan. And I think I think we can say with a straight face that we've been doing this stuff, right? And that we have it in different places, but we do have more work to do. So the potential scope of work that I've identified is that we go for an implementation grant. It is possible and probable that they'll only fund the planning elements, but we go for the implementation grant and we include planning elements. And the planning elements would help fill gaps in our existing plan. So, and that would also, and I think there's a lot of value to that, to asking them to help us hire a transportation planner that would basically review the work that we've done so far, because we did hire Alta as part of the comprehensive planning process, and they did a review and they provided a report, and that provided us some information. When we were developing the RAISE grant, we together gathered a lot of data. We pulled fatality statistics, which there are not very, like this is not a huge issue that we have, just so you know. But, we pulled those statistics. We also, Raina has sent me some data about like insurance claims to the village for other, issues, things like that. So that I've been looking at all of that data. We've pulled it together. We also put together a lot of really good information, not just in the comp plan, but as part of the planning process for RAISE. And we've gotten a lot of really good engagement-related feedback. And so all of that is kind of in different places, and we need to take a needle and thread and sew it together. So I don't think we have to start from scratch, really. I think there's a lot of work that's already been done, but I do think that we're not transportation planners. So it would be really wonderful to have somebody kind of that we can have on board to really help us through that and identify what are the gaps and also maybe support additional engagement and really focused engagement. So I think that would be the case. And then I would also like to submit some demonstration projects for speed slowdown and traffic calming, because we've also gathered additional data through, we've been putting up these speed detectors. You may have seen them popping up around the village. We've been gathering all of that data and we've been processing it down, and we've been sharing it with the police department to help them help us, but also to identify the hot zones. And basically what we're seeing is that a lot of people go over 40 miles an hour on like all the streets that we've been putting these on. So those all are kind of hot zones, and we need to figure out how to slow folks down. And that's behavioral. We are going to have an outreach campaign this year to help people go slower, but there are other things that we may be able to do that are physical. And so, so I think we should think about those demonstration projects. And then from an implementation perspective, sidewalk accessibility improvements. So, there's open questions here about whether we can actually develop the cost estimate by June, and I know we will have an engineering intern on board, and so maybe that would be,
Maybe not.
maybe not. So if we can get a cost estimate, that's the big question for those sidewalk accessibility improvements, then that could be a piece. And then I was also
Well,
thinking
we have
about
some, right, for some of the projects upcoming. We
Yeah.
could use those as a starting point.
Yeah, and we could have maybe the village engineer could help us with unit costs. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm not opposed to going out on the weekend and like measuring. I don't think I'll do a very good job, but can we do that? And then the other thing is, I was thinking permanent community signage. So to help with behavioral.
Right.
And we do have some budget set aside this year to help us with that. We were talking about whether or not we could do something that would be, historic, attractive, culturally appropriate for the village in nature, but having you know, I think we don't have a huge amount of budget set aside for that.
No,
So,
no, not huge, no.
so that's kind of what before I go into other options, that's kind of what I've been thinking about for a potential scope.
I think it's a great scope.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about a traffic calming campaign for, you know, about a year, you know, in a very serious way, and this would definitely lead us to that place. When are the awards, when is it awarded?
Oh, that's a great question. I forgot to look at that. You do have to complete the projects within 5 years,
Right.
which I don't see as a problem. 12 months to 5 years. So it does take a while, although, so like 6 months or something. But there are things I know that we already have in the budget to be working on. So this, I think, would be like a deepening,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of that.
And when you
We could
say
do more.
accessibility, we're talking about ADA compliancy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think just redoing the sidewalks, I don't think that they would really,
No,
yeah. be on
I mean,
board
that's
with
what
that.
HUD is all about, so.
Yeah.
So Carly, what are your thoughts about, when I was reading it, that they're strongly encouraging you to partner with other
Yeah.
municipalities.
I was wondering about that too.
I get the sense, though, that the scope that we've talked about for here and the previous grant that we applied for are and should be focused on the village, right? How do you read that? What other municipalities could we partner with in a meaningful way that would actually move this forward?
Yeah, so it does, so the program does encourage applications to involve multi-jurisdictional partnerships. That's why I was looking at the data for Greenwood Lake and Florida. You know, I was thinking that it could be something that, because we are so high in vulnerability for transportation access, it could be worth having a discussion with Greenwood Lake and Florida and the town to see whether we would like to do something joint. The chances of us being able to pass muster on the action plan may not be very good from that perspective. But maybe the town could take the lead on that and they submit as an applicant. You know, maybe there's a couple different ways we could slice it, because we don't have a town-wide transportation safety plan, I
No,
don't
there
think.
is not. And the county, does the county have it?
There is I believe, Southern Orange County transportation study that was done. I'll have to get the specifics.
That would be good to
Yeah.
look at.
Yep, that was actually my Barry action item. Thank you. So that's a choice, so that's a big choice, I
Yeah.
think, for the board to think through, is whether we want to submit alone or submit with other villages. I also contemplated whether we want to just go after the planning piece alone. And the pros on that side is that focusing entirely on that could, in and of itself, be an educational process. It could help us shift culturally toward a culture of safety, you know, and slow down Warwick kind of thing. We could be potentially better positioned to get funds in the future. And then the planning process itself could uncover opportunities and issues that we don't currently understand. I don't think any of that is precluded, though, by including the implementation piece. And then obviously that would give us more confidence in our capital improvements plan around sidewalks.
I think if we were to have partners, you know, such as the two other villages in the town, then the planning piece makes a lot more sense,
Yeah.
because then it's just easier to write, I think, even, and to
Yes.
sell.
Yeah, the writing piece, I think, is yeah. And then the cons to just doing that is that it means we have to wait longer to get implementation money, and it's more talk and less action.
But as Barry was mentioning before, I mean, the reason why we were successful, we have been successful for many of the grants that we've gone after, is that we have been ready. We've been shovel ready, and that's the planning process right there. And so I know we would like to get our teeth into implementation, but maybe if we're going to include, I think that there is merit to having something beyond the village limits, because the cars start fast, coming into the village, and
They do.
and there are some real scary roads out there, and I think Florida has the same issues, and Greenwood Lake has the same issues that we have.
And that could also give us a little bit more weight when we're talking to New York State DOT, because we have been having multiple conversations with them because they have roadways that come into the village, and there's been difficulty in getting them to reduce their speed limits and things like that.
If we do decide to partner with the villages in the town, do you think we could still make the July 10th deadline? What would be involved to reaching out to them, and do you know who we would have to contact?
Yeah, I think we reach out to the mayors and the town supervisor. I had that if we do decide to partner with them, it would be great if we could do that over the course of the next couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't, so this gets into the cons of doing the implementation stuff, is we have to assemble, to pass the smell test on having a plan, we have to both assemble a cohesive plan and project opportunities and cost estimates for both demonstration projects and those sidewalk improvements by June, which is not impossible,
Pretty aggressive.
but
Yeah.
I think we could
is
do it.
really aggressive.
Yeah.
Because, so that's, I think, So next steps is determining if the town or county, I think we know the town doesn't, county have an existing plan that covers the village that we could potentially review and integrate, determine whether we're gonna partner with others, and then based on the outcomes of this meeting, I'll beef up the scope a little bit more, assemble the data needs. I've been working on a schedule to help us deliver on time. And then I was thinking we should consider a community meeting in June, after the Veterans Memorial Park open house. I know Raina will probably really be, there's a lot going on for her,
Yeah,
but
right,
I
yeah.
think we can do that, like,
Uh-huh.
just like we did with the first open house. And that we could use that time to go over the application, the plan, brief on the content of the RAISE application as well. And then gauge public perception on, I know we need to talk about the state of good repair situation with the sidewalks and the code and all of that, so.
So the one thing I'm wondering about is the focus. If it's going to be on sidewalks and accessibility, that's the one thing we do share with the Village of Florida and the Village of Greenwood Lake. It's, as these very dense areas of activity and neighborhoods, sidewalks are one of our key elements that we all have. But in the town, that's not so much the issue. And
That's a
so,
good point,
so with the town, would be, I think, more about
the speeding.
speeding, yeah.
Yeah. But also, well, like the issue with ShopRite and people walking along 94 to get to ShopRite, that's a town, that's, we are heavily affected, but there's people, that's in the town.
Yeah.
So it could make sense for us to look at those nodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you want me to set up a meeting with the
Yeah.
mayors and supervisor?
But yeah, what does everybody think? Like, is that, and, if we do
Into it.
decide to go the planning route, it doesn't preclude us from continuing to work toward costing, because we had, like, the accessibility improvements.
Are we looking to partner just because it may hold additional weight with the evaluators? Or is there any other reason why we would be looking to do that?
Well, I think just as I said, we share the same challenges. And so in a way, they might not go after this type of thing alone, but with the resources of the three of us or four of us, then it might make more sense.
Yeah, and if you think about people, driving the longer distance, speeding through the Village of Warwick, going down 94, and then speeding down the Village of Florida, or going over the mountains, speeding over the mountains, I think it's sort of relative for all three villages.
The other thing is they're looking at big
grant awards. Big money, right? I mean, it's,
Well-
not in the planning end of it, but when you get into the construction
Implementation.
implementation end,
2.5
at least
is the
you know,
bottom, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know whether we could find, I know we could find 2.5 million, but I think that, if we could go bigger and create broader benefit, it would seem to be a better package.
Nothing like this has ever been done in this part of the county in terms of planning and really focus on the issues that surround a grant like this. So I think that unto itself would be such a great learning curve for all the communities involved. And it really would make each of us understand what we're facing in terms of trying to create traffic calming and a safe environment.
Well, some of the feedback, even just reflecting on the visioning session from 2018, like the folks were talking about connectivity between the villages.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about people, like it is kind of like a big scary road between Greenwood Lake and Warwick. I think one of the things, I could go back and look, but I think, because I know we've been talking about like expanding the bus service and improving that.
Yeah.
That could potentially come into play. So maybe, would it make sense for us to work both tracks? Like we could figure out what it would take for us to cost out, the sidewalk, except, because what if they're not on board?
That's
you know?
right. I mean, that's what the next thing
Yeah.
I was going to say. Well, what if we meet and he's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not ready.
Not right now,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
And that could happen. So
Yeah.
that's why I think the sooner we can meet, the better.
And either way, we would still need to do some, like we could do the public outreach session in June, because whatever it is that we're doing, we could talk about that. Yeah, okay, so,
This is great.
Yeah,
It is
great
great.
work.
Apparently, I'll help drive this with you.
yeah, I got support needs here.
Yay.
So from the treasurer's office, really asking for state, so I'm actually having a really hard time accessing some of the financial budgeting forms. So I'm asking if she can kind of pull those down. She was really wonderful the last time we worked together on some of those things. Trustee Cheney, if you could check with the county on the existing plan. I have the engineering intern here. When do we think that they might come into play?
Probably not until late May, early June, if that.
Okay. Well, we'll know what we're, I guess,
We're
doing.
having, and I'm gonna make an announcement later, but we're having trouble. We had 2 applicants and, before we interviewed the one, she had already taken another intern position and interviewed the other, and he was interested, I was very interested, and it ended up that because this internship was outside his major, he couldn't receive any credits for it, so he's looking for another internship.
Shucks.
So we're gonna re-advertise,
Okay.
hopefully.
I guess
But that's
another
not-
ask could be DPW if
That's
they
not
could
to
help.
say that,
Yeah.
I'm, some of it comes off of, depends on the degree to which we wanna be tight on the estimates. Google Earth is fantastic for taking measurements.
I did that for the raise grant. That's
Yeah,
great.
so,
Yeah.
and again, we're still gonna have to go to the village engineer to get, our unit costs.
Yeah, I had, so the mayor, I was asking for you to help with partner engagement
Yep.
by May 15th.
Yep.
For our engineer support, costing review and contributions for the unit costs.
We're gonna need to, I think, fund that, to have a meaningful session with the village
Engineer.
engineer. Because last time, I think it was, sparse communication through email. I don't think we received all the information we wanted. So if we structure it a little bit more, I don't
Yeah.
know whether that's some kind of consulting engagement capped at a certain fee, but really just to have some dedicated time, because I think it's important for this, but also next time we go for this type of grant, we'll have this kind of cost information.
Well, we need to have a dedicated scope. And if we have a dedicated scope, we know what our scope is, what we need
From
from them to develop the costs. Then it shouldn't take very long for them to do that, to turn that around.
I think if they can provide the unit costs, then we could develop the draft cost estimate, and then you could do a first round review, maybe, and then they could review. I think it would be limited requirements for them. And then Trustee Kalura with the outreach support.
Absolutely.
And then a volunteer, and Trustee McKnight raised his hand. Trustee McKnight was totally integral to the RAISE application. So narrative and criteria alignment support, partnering in the application development, so thank you. And then I also had asked
Yeah, I'll do that part.
for your support with data needs. And then the clerk's office looking for support with letters of support and public notices. And so I have some timing on there as well.
Okay.
And I think that's it. We, if folks are interested in reading kind of the requirements for the application, there's some of that info in there and sort of detailed info about what really is a supplemental planning activity, what's required to be in your plan. I think that's like nighttime reading material.
Good job. Excellent.
Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I mean, this can probably be posted to the website if there's, if folks are interested.
Good.
Carly, one last question. Do you know of any other towns or villages who have received this in the past?
Yeah, actually, their website shows you all of everybody that's gotten it. There's a big gaping hole in our region. Yeah, so
Let's
I think
fill it.
that's actually, let's fill it. Yep.
Yeah, that and climate smart communities.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and actually a big thing that they do talk about is, they want to see a commitment to social and environmental justice and equity, as well as climate adaptation and climate mitigation. I mean, that's very big on anything federal. So that all is very helpful to us.
Great.
Good. Okay, any other questions? So we'll move on to privilege of the floor. If anybody would like to speak to the board this evening, now's your opportunity. Yes.
I just have a
Sta-
question.
Just state your name
Fran Sinclair.
and if you're a village resident or
And I am a village resident. When you were talking about the infrastructure, the sidewalks, from the high school, from the middle school down to, all the ways down to West, has always been a little bit of a thorn in my side, because I see the children walking.
Yeah.
And I don't always feel they have a safe place to walk.
Right.
And I was just gonna ask if you were going to look at that at all.
That is, go ahead.
Oh, we actually submitted that under the RAISE grant. We wouldn't want to double it up on this application, so we're going to find out whether we get that money in June, which is great. We didn't want to double up on any scope that we pursued for RAISE with this, because it's going to the same agency. And, but the RAISE grant included funding to do the detailed design, and that had different requirements, to do the detailed design for sidewalks along West Street, also along Galloway. So that would be detailed design for sidewalks along Galloway Road, which is very fast, West Street, and that also connects to a school, to do planning for walkability along South Street Extension, and then also to do the planning for a multi-use trail that would carry people from the village all the way out to ShopRite.
Oh, wow.
And then
I
also,
didn't even know that.
and also to plan, also to inventory and plan long-term state of good repair for all the sidewalks in the village.
That's wonderful.
So that
Yeah.
was like a $2.5 million submittal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that's just for the planning piece, so that,
Wow.
And design,
And
detailed
design.
design.
Yeah, I'm
So,
glad to hear you're thinking about West. That
Yeah.
bothered me.
yeah,
yeah.
we want to fix that.
Yes, Neil?
And
So
thank
it's
you.
Neil Sinclair, 40 Oakland Ave, village resident. So apparently this is not the right forum for this, but we thought maybe it was. There's a lot of activity going on around our house behind us and to the side of us, in the restaurant in particular. And we spoke to a number of people. We think we have a general idea of what's happening, but we're a little concerned about following the rules and making a little larger, or whatever the word would be, than we're used to or than is appropriate.
Right.
So we just wanted to know if anybody knew anything what was happening.
As I mentioned before the meeting, and speaking to you, that it's you'd have to go to the building department, or we can go to the building department, and get any information of what plans are in place, and if, to see what's what. So, that would be, our code enforcement officer, Boris Rudinsky, so.
We're obviously concerned.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And we just want to stay on top of it.
Right. I mean, it initially looked like just some landscaping, but it just seems to have grown, so. right?
It's growing exponentially.
Yes, exponentially, so we'll, I think if you wouldn't mind calling his office tomorrow, and I will, when I get in, I will check in too, so, get it on both ends.
Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We're going to move forward with motions then. Our intention tonight, our legal counsel is here. We'll be going into executive session alone, but then we may invite folks into that session after we meet as a board. So just to give everybody a sense of where we're going. So, okay.
Well, I just want to thank you for all your hard work. It's very impressive to know what you can do, and mind-boggling in my mind, to hear all the work you put into this, so thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, the real beauty is that it is teamwork. And I can't tell you enough about how everybody is playing a role and how effective that is. And we really have gotten a lot of things done. And it's coming back to us. I mean, it's proving itself. So it's really great. Thank you. So we'll move on to motions. Carly?
Okay. Motion to adopt the Village of Warwick Board of Trustees Rules of Meeting Procedure effective May 1, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any conversation?
Yeah, a couple things. We've been through a number of iterations with this, and we've gotten comments from our attorney on some of the things. And so there's still a couple of things that are lingering in my mind that I guess I'd like our attorney to address. What latitude does the presiding officer have when a speaker becomes verbally abusive towards a member of the audience or a member of the board?
Well, it's going to be fact specific, of course, as far as that goes. The bottom line is if someone becomes profane, if someone becomes violent, then you have every right to ask that person to leave. If someone exceeds the time limit, generally applicable to everyone, you understand, and refuses to yield the floor or is disrupting the meeting, again, you can ask that person to leave. If the person refuses to leave, you can call the police and have them physically ejected. I can't tell you, there's a particular word that they can't say or a particular tone of voice they can't adopt, but you give as much leeway as you can to the public, because this is a public forum, but there comes a point where you can't conduct the meeting if they continue doing what they're doing, whether it's threatening people or members of the board or saying things that are just outrageous. You can't put up with it in your meeting, and that's when you have some, you have the right to have them removed.
And as far as the comments go, I know it's structured so that the first public participation session is to deal with items that are on the agenda. So clearly that's village related. The second is much more broadly open than that. But is it required that they stick to village issues as opposed to non-village issues?
Oh, no, they can, when it's open session, they can talk about anything.
so they can talk about personal issues with somebody else in the audience or a board member.
Well, they have to address, and the mayor or deputy mayor, whoever's running the meeting, should constantly direct people, please address your comments to the board, please address your
Right.
comments to the board. You don't want back and forth, because things can get out of hand rather quickly if that happens, or people just be uncomfortable and feel that they can't attend the meeting. So you keep directing to address their comments to the board. If they refuse to do that, and it becomes too disruptive, again, you can ask for the person to be removed. But yeah, when it's open session, anything from the weather to, you know, games of pitch and toss, whatever it is that's
Okay, thank you.
But you do have your 3-minute limit, so
Right.
if you stick to that, you won't have to hear too many things that are, you know, you keep some control of the meeting.
Right, thank you.
One other thing I would note, though, while I got the floor here for a second.
Sure.
is I believe you kept in the section. Let's see. Speakers must step to the front of the room or the microphone.
Oh,
Well, you don't have a
I didn't-
microphone.
No.
And if you were to step to the front of the room, the people who spoke this evening wouldn't be able to do so from their chairs.
right.
If you kept to the rules, at least, the mayor would be saying, please step forward 2
Yeah.
steps. And that's fine. You know, you're gonna be videotaping things. It probably makes it easier for people viewing at home to see it. Just be mindful that it's something that from time to time you may waive. 'Cause
I waived
you
it
don't want
tonight.
Everybody stepping to the front.
Mm-hmm.
It makes some
You
sort of-
technically didn't pass it at that point.
A silent wave.
Well,
But I think it's, the intent is for the people who are speaking, they're speaking to the board.
The board, yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's not to the audience, you know, it's not to the 8 followers that they have there with them. They're here to speak to the board and address us with issues that are of concern to them.
The main thing is to be consistent in the meeting. If you have a night like this evening where you have less than 12 people in the public, you can let them speak from their seats. There's not gonna be a problem. If you have a packed room because it's a public hearing on a zoning change or something, you may wanna say, wait a minute, I don't want people yelling from the back and it's just unruly. Come here and even though we don't have a microphone, you know, speak up here. So as long as you're consistent within a meeting and don't say that person can sit, this person has to stand, you're gonna be fine. I just wanted to point that out, that that's a
Sure.
rule that you want to be mindful of.
Right. I'll keep that in mind.
Just a quick note that it does look like in the guidelines for public comment that the statement that speakers must address the board was removed. Because originally it had said speakers must address the entire board, not an individual member, and we had stated that we thought, well, it's okay if they address an individual member, but it looks like the entire line got struck.
You might want to put that back in.
So could we still make a motion to adopt, just that we're adding that back in?
Adopted as amended.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to be very clear about what you're putting back in.
Yeah.
You can have something written out to give Jen, that would be it. We've got another meeting next Monday, you can table it
We
until then.
could withdraw the motion.
I think I
Okay.
have the older version somewhere. It'll take me time to look though.
I mean, because it could just be amended to say speakers must address the board when speaking.
Comments must be addressed to the board.
Comments must be addressed to the
Public
board.
comments must be addressed to the board.
I think that's fine. I
Okay.
mean,
So, is that good? Anything else? Okay.
okay.
No. So I'd like to amend the motion to state that public comments must be addressed to the board.
Second.
Is that?
Close
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
Let's not stand on ceremony here.
Okay. Thank
Do you have that, Jen?
I did.
Okay. So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion to rescind the motion made on April 17th, 2023 to relevy on the Village of Warwick 2023 to 2024 tax bills, unpaid water and sewer fees, and alarm fines to properties listed on the attached document, including errors and omissions, RPTL 520 prorated taxes as per the village assessor with a total relevy amount of $1,281.36.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to re-levy on the Village of Warwick 2023 to 2024 tax bills, unpaid water and sewer fees and alarm fines to properties listed on the attached document, including errors and omissions, RPTL 520 prorated taxes as per the village assessor, with a total re-levy amount of $1,271.36.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the 2023 summer recreation staff and salaries as per the enclosed list per the recommendation of Village of Warwick Recreation Director Ron Introini.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Village Clerk Raina Abramson to carry over 3.79 vacation days.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to allow no parking meter bags to be placed on the meters in front of Railroad Green between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Saturday, May 6, 2023, for the benefit of the Warwick Cares event.
Second.
Discussion, just, the mayor and I have spoken about this, and I had a bit of a concern in that the street wasn't being closed, but the parking spaces were being left unoccupied, and that, in my mind, created an opportunity for pedestrians to chaotically cross at any point in time. And I don't think that's a safe situation to have. Through the discussion, we're gonna use the barriers that we have to cordon off the parking spaces so that it kind of forces people around the edges and hopefully at least to the one crosswalk on the west end and a more focused crossing at the other end.
Yeah, I think we have enough barriers that we should have no problem.
Who's moving the barriers?
DPW.
Yeah, there's a number of things that they'll have to do that day.
So we'll have them out there anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the intent is not to protect, pedestrians from vehicles. The intent is to make sure that pedestrians are crossing appropriately. So the barriers are for the pedestrians, not the vehicles.
Both.
Both.
But the
yeah.
orange barriers won't prevent a vehicle from crashing, and they'll only mitigate a pedestrian from
No,
throwing.
we'll keep them away from the curb.
Yeah, it'll keep the pedestrians away.
Well, it'll keep the cars away from the curb too, because it will be out into the street, along the parking spaces.
Okay,
At the very edge of the parking spaces.
it'll funnel traffic.
It'll funnel
What
traffic.
hours are the DPW needed? You said there's multiple things for them to
I
do.
think they're going to probably be in for about 4 hours.
Because if you put the barriers up before it starts at 9 and take them down after 4 o'clock when it ends,
Well,
right? They'll have to come in twice at 3
no,
hours a
I think
clip.
we'll probably, so if they were to come in by their union contract, that it's a 3-hour stint,
Right.
period. So I think we would just extend it. There's probably plenty to do in terms of garbage removal and things of that nature that day, so.
Or we could structure it to where the event organizers could get their own assistance to move the barriers back into the railroad green.
Okay, I'm sure we could.
And maybe
There'll be
avoid
plenty-
They were there the whole
avoid
time.
one of the
I've
two.
done that.
That's an 8-hour or 8.
It's a good
7
point.
hours.
I think logistically we can figure out how to only do it with, one call out,
Okay. How many
or maybe none.
how many workers? Just one?
Probably.
Well, they could
two.
probably place them on Friday. Not in the
parking
parking
spaces.
spaces, but in the vicinity,
Mhm.
so that it
And
could be
have-
moved out by the organizers. So, do they need to, are they using the village's amplification equipment? So, that's something that may need to occur in the morning, so if we put together a crew of maybe 2 of the DPW workers, they could set out the stanchions and also hook up the public address.
Also, there's tables and chairs that will have to be delivered.
Oh, okay.
So there's a bit more to it than just,
So they would have had to go out and come back anyway.
Right, well, I think yes, they would have to go out and come back. Yeah.
So is it in increments of 3 hours? I mean, per
Yes.
the contract? So we're paying 2 DPW laborers 6 hours each. I think that changes this motion then, right? 'Cause this just says no parking meter bags.
In their application, in their facilities use application, the request, I think, is for all those things, the chairs and, this is co-sponsored by the village.
Right.
As it is the town and the 2 other villages, so.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Boy Scout Troop 38 to use Railroad Green for a fundraiser plant sale on Saturday, May 13th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Community Center to use Stanley Deming Park for a Warwick Pride celebration event on Sunday, June 11, 2023. Event set up to begin at 10 a.m. with the event taking place between 2:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Cleanup to be complete by 6:30 p.m. Request includes use of restrooms, electricity bandshell and pavilion and lawn in between. The setup of tents, permission to hang a banner on the South Street side of Stanley Deming from May 29, 2023 through June 12, 2023. And use of the lawn area to the left of the basketball courts in coordination with the Village of Warwick DPW Supervisor Mike Moser for overflow parking. DPW to provide 4 garbage cans, 200 chairs, and 4 large tables. Approval is contingent upon proof of permission from Warwick Valley Central School District to use the Park Avenue School for parking. Completed park permit, security deposit, and proof of insurance have been received.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Community Center to hold the Warwick Pride Parade on Sunday, June 11, 2023. The parade will step off at 1:30 p.m. with lineup beginning at the Community Center per the letter received on April 20th, 2023. The parade route will be as follows. Hamilton Avenue, Orchard Street, left on Oakland Avenue, Main Street, proceed up Main Street, right on South Street, left on Parkway, arriving at Stanley Deming Park at approximately 2:30 p.m. for the Warwick Pride Celebration event. Completed facility use permit, security deposit, and proof of insurance have been received. The Town of Warwick Police Department will assist with vehicle and pedestrian traffic control during the event.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Park Avenue Elementary to hold a first grade class picnic at Stanley Deming Park on Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, between 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. with a rain date of Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. Request includes use of restrooms. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to Park Avenue Elementary to hold a third grade class picnic at Stanley Deming Park on Thursday, June 15th, 2023, between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. with a rain date of Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. It's like almost all me tonight.
I know, it's like,
I can't remember the last time I went through a meeting with no
Just make
motion.
sure that
yeah, really.
Motion to grant permission to Monroe Presbyterian Preschool to hold an end-of-year gathering in Stanley Deming Park on Friday, June 2nd, 2023, between 9:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., with a rain date of Friday, June 9th, 2023. Request includes use of restrooms. Event is in coordination with Sanfordville Elementary's 4th grade picnic taking place the same day from 12:45 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion. Yeah. Couple of things relative to this. First of all, I assume that they understand that they do not have exclusive use of the playground. I don't know whether the application included pavilion and gazebo specifically. I don't believe it did. So, you know, it's more of a general thing. And relative to the coordination with Sanfordville, they don't seem to be overlapping. I assume Sanfordville doesn't have setup before 12:45? That's correct, okay. And my probably biggest concern is that they're expecting to need parking for 45 cars. And we just don't have that in the area. And Sanfordville, I would assume, is going to be busing their kids. There's nothing that requires this group to leave at any point in time, so those cars could still be congesting the area and making it difficult for Sanfordville to drop their students off. I guess, I'm not gonna say let's not do it, let's not allow it, but I think that, we should look at this as kind of a test case, because of two events happening, one right after the other, and, some of the requirements. I mean, if they were bringing all their kids on a bus, and maybe 4 or 5 other cars, that would be one thing, but, they're talking about, 45 cars, and parking there is at a premium, as we all know.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a really good flag.
Yeah.
I mean, does it make sense to just, Jen, is it possible to kind of notify them of the parking situation and to see if, let them know that we have additional parking downtown and they could walk, and it's a lovely walk?
Or they should carpool.
Yeah.
And they have been told that they need to vacate the park at their designated time. We have been having issues administratively with the park. It's becoming so popular. We've been having people from other towns want to
Yeah,
come and
so
use it. And we don't really, if they're under 200, we don't really have anything to say you can't use this park.
Right, understood.
Yeah,
Even
but 200 is a
telling-
lot of people.
Yeah, telling them that they have to leave at particular time, how do you even enforce that? I mean, you can't have the police go and issue tickets or anything
Yeah.
along those lines. If they're not there, you've got a problem.
Yeah, and
So
they
you're
could
gonna
just,
wanna be very clear with them that this is a requirement, and
Mhm.
if they don't comply with the requirement, next time they ask, you take that into consideration and either impose serious conditions or maybe even deny it.
Yeah.
Right.
well, I mean, if they're just coming as a group of kids, like, they could just like randomly meet up there. The bigger issue is the parking, right?
Right.
Like
The biggest
that's,
issue,
Yeah.
yeah, so it seems like maybe if there's gonna be a large group of cars, that maybe they should be making use of our, like the lot that's down the back of CBS and
That's a long walk for kids, though. I mean, that would be,
not my kids.
well,
These are preschoolers.
I mean, my kids, Death March.
right. You Spartan children.
But, they could carpool, like they could
Yeah.
maybe just encourage.
Well, what
that.
about the parking lot at Park Avenue School? Would that be available at that
Will school
time?
be in session?
It'll be in
No, it's a school day.
It's a school day,
Yeah.
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 I was wondering if we have any insight why the school in Monroe is having their get together here. I don't care either way. I was just interested in why.
Yeah, did
Do
they tell
have?
you?
It's a popular playground. Everyone loves
Yeah.
the playground, and they do have residents in Warwick that attend that school.
What's the Park Monroe Smith Grove? I'm trying to remember what that looks like.
Monroe, yeah.
Not, they don't have a
A
great
very
playground.
old jet
Right.
slide,
No, that's down the street at airplane.
the airplane slide.
The airplane side. Okay, thank you. I was just being nosy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's going to be definitely a test case, and we really have to watch it, and we have to express all the issues that they're going to encounter, and that they have to, be very aware of the time element, and so.
I think we need to have a map that calls out where the public parking spots are, how many are in each lot, and the hours that you can stay in that lot. Like this is an 8-hour lot, this is a 4-hour lot. I don't know if we have,
I have something like
We
We do have
we
that,
worked
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we should furnish that to
I'll take that up.
this group.
Yeah, to
Right.
groups that come from outside of town, that's a great idea.
Right, I can attach that to their permission.
Yeah, that would be
letter.
good. I mean, for that matter, it would be probably easier for them to park in Memorial Park, and then walk. I mean, that's a nicer walk, from
Oh, that's a good idea.
through Park Lane.
There's also the park and ride.
There's
But we don't have a dial-a-bus.
Dial-a-bus.
That's really far.
Yeah, from Monroe.
Don't we run Monroe's, does the town run Monroe's as well?
They,
remember.
yeah, I think they do, yeah. Or no, it's not, it's not Monroe, it's another, well, yeah. Okay, gang, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to grant permission to Rebecca I'm done. Motion to grant permission to Rebecca Bank to hold a family gathering at the Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion on Sunday, May 14th, 2023, between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. with cleanup completed by 10 p.m. Request includes the use of village-owned tables and chairs, use of electricity, and use of restrooms. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to close Park Avenue between Galloway and Birch Street on the following days for the benefit of Park Avenue Elementary School events. Friday, May 19th, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a rain date of Tuesday, May 23, 2023. Friday, June 2nd, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. with a rain date of Friday, June 9th, 2023. Monday, June 5th, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. with a rain date of Tuesday, June 6th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ah, you're done.
You don't have to
Great
listen to me
job.
anymore. Yeah.
Mary?
Motion to approve the budget modifications request as per the village treasurer's memo dated April 26th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve the year-end fiscal year 2022-2023 budget transfer request as per the village treasurer's memo dated April 19th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That is motions for this evening, no addendums. Final comments from the board.
I do have a couple. One, hydrant flushing was completed last Thursday. I think over the course of 8 or 9 nights. I'm not sure they worked the Friday before. It went about normal. It took a little longer because we didn't flush a year ago. We only flushed once a year ago as opposed to normally 2 times and sometimes 3 times. So it took a little longer to clear out the dirty water. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, the Village of Warwick is seeking an engineering intern to work this summer. Preferably a student who has completed at least 1 year of college majoring in engineering or a closely related field. And they're going to work with our geographic information system, entering information about our infrastructure and doing other assorted tasks, including the length of sidewalks, the length of areas where there are not sidewalks, and helping put together some of the applications. They should be able to work with spreadsheets and set things up like that. So that's my expectation. We had advertised previously, and as I said earlier, had 2 applications were received, and neither of those were able to accept the position for the summer. So we're back to square one. It's being re-advertised. I've reached out to SUNY Orange to see if they would make their students aware of the opportunity, and we'll go from there.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? No? Well, we do have to go into executive session. Actually, final comments from the audience, now that we approved the way our meetings went. We now have also a secondary privilege of the floor in both of our meetings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so,
Well, we thank you for listening to us, and you guys are doing a great job. You're really doing a great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
We're glad we came down here just to hear that you're doing a great job.
Pass the word.
Yeah, yeah. Tell them on the radio.
Yeah, I'll repeat up.
Principal, like, about the high school, she might know an engineering student who's in college, for their
Sure.
kids.
That's a good thought, yeah.
She's
I don't
good.
know, I don't know how much track they keep of them once they,
They do,
Go
they
on.
do keep, she's good.
okay,
Yeah, she may know somebody for you.
all right, thank you.
That's great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
If anyone didn't sign in, please do so before you leave.
So, should we read?
I'm going to ask them to just walk out onto the veranda.
Motion and second.
Yeah,
So we'll call
yeah,
you back in.
we'll call you back in, yeah. So if you could make a motion on this, discussing regarding proposed.
Do I
spending.
say make a motion?
Yes, yeah.
Make a motion to go into executive session for discussion regarding proposed pending or current litigation.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And so we have to turn off the,
yeah,
I'm gonna run to the restroom while we get that.
okay.